This week, a nightmare for American democracy. The nation's intelligence agencies, the White House, claiming the worst, that Russia not only hacked campaign 2016, but tried to influence the outcome of the election, and that the hacks were directed from the heart of the Kremlin, the office of President Vladimir Putin himself. It is extraordinary to contemplate. Among the pressing questions this morning, does Trump even believe Russia was behind the hack? Can the country unify? How will America respond? And with a little over a month from President-elect Trump's inauguration, was his victory due in part to Putin's audacious plot? At President Obama's final news conference of the year, he left no doubt the Kremlin's fingerprints were all over election 2016. Just to be clear, do you believe Vladimir Putin himself authorized the hack, and do you believe he authorized that to help Donald Trump?
We have said, and I will confirm, that this happened at the highest levels of the Russian government, and I will let you make that determination as to whether there are high-level Russian officials who go off rogue and decide to tamper with the U.S. election process without Vladimir Putin knowing about it.
So let's get right to our reporters, Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross and Tom Llamas outside Trump Tower. And Brian, let me start with you. We've heard what the president said. How solid is the intelligence?
Well, Martha, U.S. officials tell ABC News the evidence is compelling and, if anything, getting stronger. The cybersecurity detectives who have analyzed the bugs or the malware planted in the Democratic Party computers say it transmitted the stolen emails to an internet address the Russians had used in earlier hacks of other countries, and that the software was actually created in a Russian time zone with gaps during Russian holidays, all on a keyboard with Russian Cyrillic characters. And on top of that, Martha, the CIA has now shared with other agencies highly classified new information gained from the Kremlin itself that authorities say reveals the hands-on role of Vladimir Putin and his intent to hurt Hillary Clinton and help Donald Trump, Martha.
And Tom Llamas, I would assume that Donald Trump has been briefed. Why doesn't he believe this?
Martha, that's a complicated question. I'm told by sources within the transition team that if the intelligence community feels that the president-elect should have that information about the Russia hacking, they have the opportunity nearly every day to provide it in the presidential daily briefing. Now, has that happened? It's unclear because that's all classified material. I do know the president-elect is fully aware of the news reports of what President Obama said, but there is some pushback from Team Trump because they say if the evidence is so definitive, if it's so black and white, why has a smoking gun not been made public? Why has there not been a linkage chart that has been leaked to the public so people could actually see that evidence? And also, behind all of this, they think all of this reporting and all of this time spent on this issue is also an attempt to undermine their election victory, which they say they rightly and legally won on election night. Martha?
And Brian, I want to go back to the hack and the response. The president said there will be a response. He said to send a clear message to Russia or others not to do this to us because we can do stuff to you. What kind of stuff is he talking about?
Well, Martha, there are a number of options, but none seem to fit the bill precisely. Covert action could result in a cyber tit-for-tat that could escalate and would be more damaging to the U.S. than to Russia. The FBI is investigating whether it could bring criminal charges against Putin or anyone else involved, including any Americans. But for the Russians, that would be little more than a symbolic gesture. Officials are also looking at exposing or somehow freezing the secret bank accounts of Putin and those around him. And finally, there is the option of a new round of financial sanctions, which the president could order in the final weeks of the Obama administration, Martha.
And Tom, Donald Trump will be president in a little over a month. If there are sanctions, he could immediately undo them. What do you think he will do in response?
Martha, I was just told this morning by a senior advisor that the Trump team is for sanctions that work. Now, clearly, President-elect Trump has said throughout the campaign he wants a better relationship with Russia. He wants Russia to be, quote, friendly. And Rex Tillerson has spoken out against sanctions. Again, this is when he was head of ExxonMobil, so he had different interests. I'm told that Russia's at a very high priority list for President-elect Trump, but it's not at the top. Right now, China is the most important foreign policy assignment for President-elect Trump. Martha?
Thanks very much, Tom. Thanks very much to you, Brian.